So when you're watching these videos, you're not just saying, well, there's some guy and there's nothing in the back. No, there's a lot of stuff in the back. I've got all kinds of nonsense happening back here. The background is part of the image. And so when we're working in Rhino and saying, well, how come I've got my little creature or whatever I've made, but it's just floating in space? I want to make that look more realistic and give it some kind of, background to sit upon. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go back to Rhino and I'll show you a couple of places where you might find that. Here's a little critter that we're looking at. This is my little doofy alien. What I want to do is go back into the render window here, render properties at the bottom of that menu, and you'll see there, it's a crazy complicated menu, but normally what your setup is background solid color right there. If I click that solid color, I can say, well, I'd kind of like to make that green or turquoise or magenta. So you've got lots of control there in terms of just basic solid color. And it's pretty cool. I mean, you can see how powerful already that changes it dramatically, putting something like that on top of that. But that's not all the fun that's available. You can also come in here and say, I'd rather put this, you got gradient, you could put that into, something like kind of smooth like that. I'd kind of like to put something more plausible on there. I'm going to choose a 360 environment. Now, Rhino has a studio built in that you can say, okay, it's just kind of floating around in this, fake photographic studio. But what I'd really like to do is add my own or bring in something. So I'm going to click this and import from environment library. There's an entire library of environments brought in with when you downloaded Rhino and put it in there, including things like the Dublin studio. Let's put that in there and see how that looks. Whoa. So usually they're pretty low res pictures, but you get a background on there. Some of these work better than others. Some of them are better images than others. But you can have a lot of fun kind of playing with this thing in terms of how that plays out. You can add in another one and bring in New York City or Toronto downtown. So there are lots of other possibilities for you there. So hopefully that will give you some chances to control that. The lighting is set to be skylight. The skylight is just pouring light down on top. You can see it kind of shining on the top of my little guy's head here. If I turn that off, I get no lighting, and then I can turn the sun on, and then you can do things like sun settings in terms of where's the sun and how is it working. I can control where it's landing exactly, and also how intense it is. So you got a lot of control in there about how you can position the light, days of the year, time of day, a lot of controls. So all those things are in there for you. Hopefully that helps to play with that thing, get some backgrounds in there for your beautiful creations. See ya.